All right, so this is going to be another installment of how to build a Craftsman kit. And what we're going to focus on today is building your roof card for this model. And what I decided to do, since this is technically a scratch build model, it does not come with a roof card, so we're going to have to create our own. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to create your own roof card, and then a couple techniques that I do when I do create them. So to start off, what we want to do is we're going to support the top edge of the pitch of this roof. And the reason why, if you notice, it has a little bow to it, and it's bowing outwards. And it's bowing outwards on both sides, as you can tell. It's not a lot, but it's enough. So what I suggest you do, and what we're going to do on this application, is I'm going to take a piece of 1/8 inch stock bracing, and I cut it to size. And what we're going to do is we're going to glue it, and we're going to put some clamps or weights, or I haven't decided how I'm going to do it yet, most likely weights. And I'm going to support it and have it set up. And basically what this does, once you have this piece in, it's going to provide extra support. Because the roof card is a little bit longer on this model, you want to make sure you have support underneath it. All right, so we're going to get this glued up. But before we do that, I just want to run through the things that we're going to need for this video and for this application. So obviously we're going to need our model. We're going to need our 1/8 inch square support stripping, and we're going to need our roofing paper, which I showed this technique on how to make this in a previous video. We're going to need a piece of cardboard, and this is actually a back of a notepad, and it's roughly a little less than 1/16 thick chipboard. So this is what we're going to use for the roof card. We're going to need our number 11 blade, ruler, a pencil, and also a Sharpie. In addition to that, we're going to need our transfer tape when we cut out our tar paper roof. All right, so let's get started. And I'm going to start off with gluing the actual 1/8 inch square support onto the roof. So once that's set up, we'll come back and I'll show you how to cut out the roof card. We'll be right back. All right, so I got the piece glued in there and it's setting up. So when I put my weights on, they're sliding around the benchwork a little bit too much. So what I ended up doing is getting out my big clamp, and that's how I clamped it. So it's definitely coming along. So we'll wait about an hour. We'll come back and we'll continue on. We'll be right back. All right, so we got the piece glued in for the roof. Now we're going to make the roof card. So one of the things that I would recommend you getting, you don't have to get it, but it does help. Get yourself a scale ruler. They do help from time to time, and this application is definitely be helpful. So I measured, this building is 57 feet long. So I'm going to measure from the corner to the corner, and it's 57 feet long. But with roofs, you want them to have an overhang. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the roof card 57 feet long. I'm sorry, 58 feet long. So I have a little bit of hangover on this side. And then I'm going to make this 8 feet in this direction here. All right, so let's cut out the roof card now. And again, I'm using a piece of chipboard or a piece of back of a notepad. You don't have to move my camera down just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. You don't have to spend a lot of money when you're building models. If you can save a few dollars here and there, it does help. Okay, so I'm gonna measure out 58. And I put a little mark at the edge there. Now, one tool that has been my go-to tool for a while now is this square that I use. I got this from Micromark, and it's well used. It's a thin beam square, they call it. The reason why I like it is if you use a traditional square, it may slide around on you a little bit. This one here has a little lip on it. So when you're working with chipboard, you can lock it in and make nice straight lines with it. Now, since we're going to make this 8 feet, the center of the actual roof card is going to be 8 feet, but I'm going to make this whole thing 16. Just want to double check that measurement. I'm glad I double checked it. I'm off of just a little bit. So I want this to be at least 9 feet. It would help if I had it on camera. Yeah, so 8 feet is too short. So I want at least 9 feet. So that means that this has to be 18 feet. All right, so I'm glad I double checked it. Sorry this is off camera. Okay, so that's 18. We'll make another mark down here for 18. Eighteen is perfect. Now we're going to do is mark another line for the center, and I'll show you why I'm doing that in a minute. So we want to mark it at 9. Should have used a sharper pencil, but that's all right. Mark it at 9. Draw another line here. Perfect. So I'm double and triple check everything to make sure it's accurate. I'm really fussy about models being square and all right. So, next thing I'm gonna do is cut it out. Let me get a blade. All right, so I'm gonna pause the video. I'm gonna cut this piece out. We'll be right back. All right, so we got the piece cut out And actually, there's quite a bit left over, so I do have more for another project. So I like to use up all my materials because everything is so expensive these days. Try to use up everything up if I possibly can. So I got the piece cut out, and I have this line, the center line drawn. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut that line, but I'm not going to cut all the way through. So we're dealing with thin chipboard here. But the reason why I'm cutting this line is so I can easily bend the roof card and install it. Instead of making two separate pieces, I'll make one roof card and then just bend it. And if you buy kits from companies, especially Foscale, most of the time with the bigger roof cards, there's a line scribed for you already. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one way. I'm going to flip it over, flip the blade over, and just cut it the other way. Now this should bend. Probably could have cut it just a little bit more, but that should be fine. Perfect. All right, so let's test its fit. Not bad. So you have a nice overhang there. Get a little bit of overhang on this side and then a little bit of overhang on that side. All right, now, the next step. So when you look at a building, and this is something I learned from a fellow modeler, especially if you're doing a contest quality model, you don't want raw cardboard or raw chipboard showing on the outside. So what you can do, this is a little trick of the trade here. This is where the Sharpie marker comes into place. Now, you can use paint if you want, but using a Sharpie will work just as good. So what you want to do is you want to draw in or color this either brown or black or whatever color you want, really. You want to come in about 1/8 of an inch on all four sides. So the easiest way to do this, get a piece of cardboard so I don't draw all over my cutting mat. Just use the side of the Sharpie and just color it in. I think the Sharpie has seen better days. Now, if you're working with a bigger roof card than this, then I would recommend putting bracing in here. And we can still actually put a couple pieces of bracing in here if we want to, just so it doesn't warp, which I don't think it will, but I may glue a couple in there just in case. Now, we're going to revisit this once the roof is on, because then we can weather this whole thing underneath as well. Well, that's it. That's all you got to do. All right, now, you still have another step. If you're new to building models, or if you're new to doing roof cards, or if you're a veteran and you just want to do this, here's another trick. What you can do is you're going to draw lines. They don't have to be, they have to be perfectly straight, but they don't have to be in any type of order. And there's a reason for this. One there. Most of the time, if I'm doing tar paper, I don't do this. But because this is an instructional video, I will. If I'm putting on regular shingles, I will do this. And basically what you're doing is you're drawing lines as a reference point to keep your roofing material, whether it's tar paper or shingles or whatever you're using, to keep it straight. I'll do one more. Okay. Just like that. All right. So I'm going to pause the video really quick. We're going to put our transfer tape on, and then we'll glue the actual roof card onto the building. We'll be right back. All right, so I'm going to be using transfer tape to install the roof. You can use white glue if you don't have transfer tape, so that could be a substitute. So if you don't have transfer tape, it's not a big deal. So what you're going to do, I'm sure you've seen me use this in other videos. In this case, I lucked out because the transfer tape is almost, it's actually exactly the size of that roof. Boy, I can plan that out any better. Perfect. So the only thing I have to do is just cut the edges off. You want to make sure that the transfer tape is securely on the piece of roofing card. So I would make sure you push it on. Because once you peel this off, you do not want the sticky stuff to come off with it. And we're going to do the other side. Okay, give it a fold again. Okay, now we're ready to install the roof on. All right, so we'll be right back, and we're just gonna basically just glue it on. In fact, I'll probably glue this on off camera. I'm gonna be using my, one of my favorite glues out there is Weld Bond. I also use this glue as well. If you can't find Weld Bond, the tacky glue will work just as good. All right, you can get the tacky glue at Michael's, and you can order this online through Home Depot. All right, we'll be right back. All right, so the roof is dried. I used some rubber bands to secure it. This thing is nice and strong. So you can see how much it overhangs, and how the, when you paint the bottom of the roof, how much better it looks. In addition, I did add some bracing as well underneath there. So it actually really stiffened up the roof nice. So when I'm putting the roof on, I can press on it and it's not going to collapse on me. So the next step right now is we're going to set up to cut our tar paper roof. And I'm just going to show you quick how I'm going to do that. Let me just readjust this camera. All right. So basically what we're going to do is just take the piece of construction paper, and then I'm going to take a ruler, and I'm just going to use the grid on the actual cutting mat as a guide. And then when you measure out the grid, it's 3.5 scale feet in HO, roughly, for the tar paper, or the size of the tar paper anyway. So to line this up best I can. You want to make sure that you're using a nice sharp knife, because if you don't, just like if you're working on a sign, you could tear the roof, which is not the end of the world, because you could weather it. Always make sure you be careful when you're cutting, especially with these number 11 blades. And that's the size that we're gonna put on there. So we're probably gonna end up putting, I would say, 3 sections, which isn't too bad. So I'll have to cut 6 pieces plus another one to make the actual roof cap. All right, so let me cut the rest of these out, and then we'll be back and I'll show you how to actually install these on. All right, so now we're going to install the roof. I'm only going to put on a couple pieces just to show you how it's done. It's pretty simple. One thing I want to point out, when I painted the roof card, I'm sorry, when I painted the tar paper, the construction paper, I only did one side. And what I did is I used 2 different shades of primer, automotive gray primer. I used a dark gray and a light gray, and I just alternated them, and I just sprayed it on there. And I believe in my first roofing video, I showed how I did that. So that's, if you're wondering, that's how it's done. It's really simple. There's no magic in that. So now that I have all my pieces cut, we're going to do one side at a time, and then we're going to flip it around and do the other side. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you grab just the end of the double-sided tape and use your blade to do it. And again, when you're using cutting tools, just be careful. Okay, good. So when you pull these off, those are the lines that we drew earlier. And now you can put your tar paper on and have it all nice and straight. So when you put this on, the first one's going to be one piece. But you want to make sure that it overhangs the roof, probably about, I don't know, maybe like a 32nd of an inch. And I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to do it by eye. So it doesn't have to be 100%. But one word of caution, once you stick this on, that's it. It's not coming off. And if you try to take it off, you're going to tear the piece of paper, or you tear your roof, roofing material. So just lightly put it on, get it set up, and then you can trim it if you need to. I just lightly tapped it, and not enough. So try it once more. Try to do this on camera. There we go. And you can see how you can move the piece of tar paper and adjust it. I do is I occasionally look underneath to make sure that's lined up. And that's pretty much what we want. That's a little bit more than 30 seconds, but that's all right. So that'll work. So all you do is lightly press it down, and that's it. Now, if you don't have transfer paper, you can easily use glue, or transfer tape rather. You can use glue. It'll be fine. So the next thing, what I like to do, you don't have to do this. This is just my personal. Preference. I like to cut these. So you don't want a full piece on top of a full piece. You want to, looks like maybe like the roll ran out when they're installing it. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. You just want to make sure you cut it straight. And I'm going to have to stand up for this. And I just want to cut it randomly. And that's it. All right, so I'm going to pause the video really quick. Okay, so we're going to put on the second row now. And just like on the bottom, we're going to overlap it on the side and on the bottom. So you're actually going to overlap the piece that we originally put on. So in this case, it worked out that we just line it up with this line. And then you take the next one and you do the same thing. Actually, let me just do it from this side here. Same concept. You want to overlap about 30 seconds. If you go a little over, it's not a big deal. Okay. All set. All right, so I'm going to continue on, get all these, the rest of this roof on, and then we'll come back. All right, so I got the roof all installed, and on the last piece here, which was the roof cap, it was too small to put the double-sided tape on, or the transfer tape. So what I ended up using is this white glue. And if it doesn't sit 100% like it is here, that's fine. It looks very realistic. All right, so the next, one last thing we have to do is actually fold down the ends. So this is nice and straight, but like I showed you, we always overhang it just a little bit. The reason for that is use your finger and just fold it down. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on it, just enough. And if not all of it goes down, that's fine. And just do the other side as well. And that's it. Nice and simple roof. All right, so the next, and actually the, what you can do now is you can actually weather this roof. You can put chimneys, you can put vent pipes. But since this video is just the basics, that's where I'm going to stop with this roof. I'm going to put together another video on detailing your roof, and I'll probably end up using this roof to do it. So that will be in a separate video, because this video is going to be long as it is, and I don't want to make it any longer than it has to be. Because it's probably going to be approaching a half hour at least. So one last thing, you can weather this with powders. You can, like I said, you can do a whole bunch of different things with this, but we'll take that up in the next video. So there's only one more step to this kit or this model, is that we're going to put on the doors and the trim. So that will be the last installment of this series. So I hope you enjoyed this this video. And what I'll do is I will I'll put a link in the description of where you can get these walls and where you can get the chipboard and everything else. You can get everything at Foscale Models. So I'll email or I'll put a link in the description of this video, and you can check it out yourself. So it's definitely a great company to buy your Craftsman Kits from and your Craftsman Kit supplies from. So check them out, and hope you enjoyed this little video on how to model your roof and make a roof card. So this is Ron New Haven Rails. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you at the next workshop series video. Have a great night, everybody.